because me sweeter than the water with no coconut. Me nicer than the lollipop. Oh, watch a man. The higher and the mountain and the cooler the breeze.
Welcome to Miracle Mondays with Rae Lashea. I'm your host, Rae Lashea, and I am so excited to introduce our guest today. We have Aliyah joining us, author and educator. So she'll come in a second. In the meantime, definitely check out my website at www.lessproblemsmoremiracles.com. That's lessproblemsmoremiracles.com. Put your email address in to get the free PDF Miracle Makers Roadmap, as well as to check out the books that I have. If you would please help me welcome Miss Aliyah Machete.
Oh Lord, you just caught me reaching for the drain.
Oh my goodness, you look fabulous.
Thank you. I had to put some lashes on for you today.
And if you bring down your camera just a little bit, because a lot of times people's head gets cut off because of the... No, I'm sorry. Bring it up. Bring it up.
Okay.
Yeah, there you are. Oh.
Great. How's the volume?
Good.
Good. Okay. All right.
Welcome to Miracle Mondays.
Hello,
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
So if you would please, to get started, let the people know who you are and what you do.
Sure. Well, my name is Aliyah West, but I also go by Aliyah Machete. I am a writer. I recently published a book. And then, I teach on the side, pretty much. Just a little bit.
One of the things, anytime I mention you, anytime you come up in conversation, I say this particular person, yes, as an educator, greets her students as kings and queens when they walk in the door.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I will say that I think recently I've kind of morphed it into something a bit more personal. So it's nothing for me to say, hey, boo, okay, I like those snakes. But, I think that I have an entire generation of students now who are adults that I've taught, and they'll say all the time, like some of them was friends on, social media. They're like, I remember when you used to call us that. So I think that it's important to kind of uplift young people, especially.
Yeah. I agree. And because I was recently talking to a friend, this is just a side note, but he, as an adult, he's almost 50. He told his mom, I'm a king. Yeah. And she was like, what are you smoking? Like, are you on, what, are you crazy? Absolutely. And for her, that disconnect, I mean, it's a new terminology for some of our Black people.
It is. It's a new terminology. To me, I think that, even that royal title, it just kind of opens up avenues for them, right? Because that's typically a glass ceiling for our young people. So to me, it's just reframing how they view the world and how they view themselves in this world.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's excellent. I know your former and current students are very lucky to have you.
So I'm lucky to have them. Absolutely.
What subject do you teach?
I teach English. I've always taught high school English. So anywhere from 9th grade to 12th grade. I started teaching in 2004. So I have former students who are 25, 32. They're grown, they're married, they have PhDs. It's amazing. It's been such a great journey.
So I know as an English teacher, because when I taught social studies, I always wanted to still teach an English class because I love writing.
And they go hand in hand, right? I love it. Mm-hmm.
And I love teaching students how to pick apart stories, look for theme, look for symbolism, write about it. How does your love for writing,
yes,
as an author, because we're about to get into this, translate to the classroom?
I think that it translates to the classroom because number one, I've been to grad school, I've taken writing classes before, but when I started the book, I was in the process of still teaching virtually. So I think that me being able to kind of look at the world through the lens of a student again, kind of helped me in terms of writing this book, publishing it, editing, pretty much everything I've done myself, of course, with the help of my support system. But I was a student again. So I feel like that kind of translated to young people because, one thing I learned about myself as a writer is how.
Okay, you're back. You're back.
That's
You're
good.
back.
Okay, sorry about that. But what I was saying is it just kind of, when I became a writer officially, right, when I started my book, I realized that how you get to your creative source is different. If there are billions of people in the world, we will all get to that a different way. So I think it made me less rigid of a teacher. As long as you can get to where you need to get to, I don't care how you do it, but I couldn't say that a few years ago. So I think that it definitely kind of humbled me in a lot of ways to kind of help my students.
Oh, yeah, that's an amazing place to get to as a teacher and as a person,
Absolutely.
Giving ourselves that leniency and that grace to make mistakes, find our way, and as a
very ego-based, right? I'm the authority, I know everything. I know even there have been times and I'm like, what? I know it dead wrong, right? But it's ego-based. So that humility is important.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then you decided to write a book.
Yes. Well, I've attempted to write a few books over the years. I will say that. I think that at first I was kind of approaching it through like a nonfiction standpoint. I wanted to kind of write about my experiences with teaching. And then, life happened. And I'm glad that life happened because I really do feel like I had some more living to do. I had some more experiences to have. I had some more mistakes to make, some successes to have, because that's pretty much the only way I would have even connected with the characters that I connected with to tell their stories. So the pandemic happened. That's how I get to Headwater. The pandemic happened. And of course, like everybody, I had to sit. And I had to sit with myself. And I had to ask myself, okay, so what do you enjoy doing? Right? Because when you're out, you're distracted. You're working, you're socializing, you're hanging out. So I just kind of said, what do you want to do? And, self told me you need to get back into writing. So, once again, the teacher became a student again. I started taking writing classes. So pretty much about 40 to 50% of the book was either inspired by a class that I took, or I literally wrote a piece during that session and it just kind of morphed into something else. But yeah, so we got to Headwater, which is such an interesting story, but I'm gonna stop there.
So now I love that. So many things I want to say. First, I said, so you decided to write a book, and we've all written so many things over the years. And really, the truth is, so you decided to publish a book. But we'll get to that because you self-published and you did an excellent job. You took writing classes.
Yes.
And now so many people come to me and say, I want to write a book, or I have a book. Can you help me? Can you help me? You're the first person who has ever said, I took some writing classes once I decided to write a book. And you're a writer and an English teacher. So you already have.
Absolutely. But that's what I mean by that humbling experience. And it's so crazy. Number one, half of them probably have taken classes. They probably just don't want to say. I'm joking. But, a lot of times we just don't think to do it because it's like it's an additional expense. You can, in the internet, you can get any type of information. Literally, a lot of the stuff that I learned in these classes, and of course, I'm all about accessibility. So anyone who is thinking about publishing a book, writing a book, sitting down and doing that, there are free resources. But you have to put yourself in a position to be a student. So me being a teacher, me being an English teacher, The one thing that I will say about these writing classes, yeah, I learned some technical things, some little tricks, but I feel like I had to take those classes because every attempt that I made wasn't made from the right lens, and I didn't have the right perspective. So that's why I struggled so much with characters. But I feel like once I actually took that writing class and started connecting with different writers and the teacher, I was like, you know what, this is a lot more spiritual and creative than I gave it credit for. So literally those classes kind of led me to the spiritual piece of this.
You know, it's interesting. And you mentioned characters, and I love your characters. You feel like you know them, but then you don't know enough of them.
Yes, we have argued and fought, but we'll get into that later. But yes.
But as you mentioned, sometimes the inspiration is not coming from the information, but the space you're in. My book, this one, 52 Weeks of Miracles, which takes the word miracle and writes 52 acronyms, reflective phrases, never using the same word twice.
Listen, I just have to cut you off. You're just amazing. Like, when I talk about you, I'm like, she's literally done everything. Like, she lives so fearlessly. But go ahead. I just had to.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I got the inspiration for it in my spiritual center.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not sure if Marianne Williamson was there that day as a guest speaker, or if Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith, who was the leader of Agape, you know, was just talking, and I started going, they were talking about miracles, and I was like, miracle, oh, marvelous, inspirational, real, and I started writing it down on the program, you know, and it had nothing to do with taking the class, or but it's something that's said, it's that right, the presence of it. So man, Head Water, a bizarre collection of short stories. You have a brilliantly bizarre mind.
Thank you.
It's brilliantly
I'm about
twisted.
to get that too. Yes, I love it.
Yeah, I was like, as I read each chapter, I was like, this is like amazing and crazy.
That's me. I mean, you got it right there. Yeah.
So, and as I read, and you know, I read the back, and I read about you, and you, in your own words, you say, I'm a writer, hot mess, dreamer, uncouth, conjurer, shit talker, nerd, certified weirdo, and each of those comes out in different areas, but one, that conjurer.
Oh, yes. Ooh.
Hello, like, this is almost a handbook.
And the crazy thing is, of course, you know, as a writer, I'm very strategic about leaving certain spaces for people to fill in their experiences and their spirit to fill it in. But I do like to, like, you know, leave little breadcrumbs, right? So that's crazy that you said that, because, I wanted it to be a handbook. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's that LaDonna.
Something else. So the crazy thing is about the LaDonna character, and you know, for people watching, pretty much Headwater is the source of a river, and I literally have every story is named after a river. That's special to me. Either I visited it, or I have this fascination with water. The ocean is way too vast and scary for me, so I stick to the rivers, right? So that story Savannah, though, came about because, number one, I actually took a road trip to the Savannah River. I drove to Georgia with my daughter maybe a few months after the pandemic started, and when I tell you, when I got there, it was like a spiritual experience. And I literally saw a woman, and there's a scene in the short story, but I literally saw a woman, not for real, but I felt that presence. A woman, she was standing on that boat dock, and she was smoking a cigarette, and she was about to fuck shit up, pretty much. That's what I saw. And once again, that's what I mean by, I literally just feel like I just kind of tapped into something, and these characters were already there, and she just told me her story. And outside of that, getting back to LaDonna and that Savannah story, my mother was an amazing storyteller. When I tell, like, anyone that knew her, she could tell a story. She could change her voices to match people. Physically, she would change. She just had an amazing imagination. And, we would kind of talk about, my family's 2 generations removed from the South, from Putnam County, Georgia. So, we would talk about practicing people who get into roots, right? Or hoodoo, as we call it. Some people call it voodoo. And, not that it was ever anything for me to be afraid of, because it was very normal and a part of our experiences. But it was always kind of like, keep that over there, right? It's evil. And, sometimes you could use it for good things, but, I'm going to be real. Certain family members stop by the house or you're checking after they leave, so it's just the truth. So it was always, I think I viewed it through that lens. But my mom would just kind of tell stories. So there's a scene in the story where there's a ribbon tied around a tree, and that's actually a piece of a story I remember my mom telling me.
Okay.
So there are literally pieces of these characters, but also pieces of my life and just the spirits around me. But yeah, LaDonna to me is, I wanted, and that's interesting. You said I have a strange and bizarre mind. So love you for this. Already love you even more. I'm still in that. It's on shirts. But anyway, but I really wanted to me, I took the stance of approaching these stories and approaching this collection from I wanted to all be connected to a river, number one. I wanted it to be connected to water in some sort of way. And the second element of it is I wanted it to have a supernatural feel, because I love Toni Morrison. She's my favorite writer. I love Octavia Butler. I just like strange things, right? So I wanted that. And then the third one was I wanted it to have real human emotions. And most importantly, I wanted it to have real Black experiences. Yes, so to me, LaDonna's character kind of explored those themes of trauma, right? Of losing someone so violently and kind of being thrown into the world. And also being introduced to hoodoo roots in a very loving and supportive nature.
Yeah.
And how she still made the decision to use that in a negative way, because she could not let that hurt and that anger go. She was a grown woman. She has like hints of gray in her hair, lived her life. The next book, you'll get the backstory and all of that. But, she's done all of these things, but she can't let that go. So She kind of took that loving practice and turned it on its head and said, I'm coming for you. You killed my mom. So yeah, it was such a great experience. She's one of my favorite characters, and a lot of people are like, yo, like, she is crazy. And she is.
But her crazy is rooted in reality.
Oh yes.
You mentioned the Black experience, and one thing as I read through, it could be anyone, any of these characters, and as you read, but you always throw in that, and she was brown, or and that cocoa color, or whatever, and then it brings back to mind we're dealing with our folks.
Yes, absolutely.
And I love that, and I also love the fact that I've noticed when I write, my books may be female heavy or male heavy. You are very balanced. You are very balanced, and your characters are very well developed.
Thank you. I'm glad that you said that about the male and female characters, because, once again, when I said I had some more living to do and successes and failures and all of those things to do, I think prior to that, I really struggled with writing male characters. Really, really struggled with that. To the point where I just kind of had to manifest some really healthy relationships with men platonically, right? And I had to kind of tap into the men in my support system, the men in my family, and I really had to study them. And I had to not see them from you're all one way, or you're all this. You're complex, just like anyone else. That's why I always say there's no such thing as a good man or a good woman. there can be a kind man because of their actions, but we all got something dark in us. We're all
Right.
capable of it, you know? So I think once I kind of experienced that, I was able to, without even trying, these male heavy characters. And once again, I will say, like, all of these male characters are just kind of bosses because they, outside of LaDonna, they were like the bossiest ones. Like James, Randall, and James. That story originally was, I started it in a writing class. That was originally, I don't even want to say it. Supposed to be slaves. Oh Lord, right? Supposed to be slaves, and they're supposed to like find a portal that kind of takes them somewhere else. And I struggled with that character because Randall was the only one. I saw him sitting in the room. He was an older man, kind of reflecting on his life. Mm-hmm. And Randall literally was struggling with me. And I had a writing class and I had a writing teacher. And they said, if you're struggling with it, because I asked, I'm like, look, I don't know what to do. They said, if you're struggling with them, write to them. So I literally wrote to Randall and, you know, just kind of set it down and came and, you know, was doing whatever I was doing. I think I was eating or something like that. And when I tell you that story just came to me, he just started talking. And changed it. He was like, look, I'm slaved out with this slave thing. Let's drop that. I'm going to be a vampire-like creature.
Yeah.
Let's do that, right? And I'm going to be fierce. And I'm going to be naive and arrogant and reckless. And all of those, even though it's a science fiction, supernatural creature, once again, that element of human emotion. I just imagine us in our 20s. Right? Because he's like the equivalent of their early 20s. We were reckless and super brave and some really great things. So he kind of said, this is who I am. I don't like this. And once again, once I just kind of turned it over to him, that story came. Yeah.
That's amazing. And for all of you who are watching, and I usually go through and name people by name and say thank you for being here, but I know that our conversation is going to move and we won't even have enough time. So Thank you all for being here. But you guys are getting gems, especially for those of you who want to write and for those of you who may be struggling to finish something and who want to publish. We'll talk about that in a second. Yeah. So listen for these gems. But as you mentioned, you were struggling with those male characters because of your experiences.
Oh, absolutely.
My children's book, You Are a Star, I'm gonna hold it up. This is just a small one here. But my illustrator, she used to, as she illustrated, she left the men's faces blank. She couldn't wrap her head around male faces. So she had to do some self-healing and some deep digging. And I apologize if she didn't want me to share that, but it took her, you know, a while to get over whatever was blocking her in terms of her male-female experience in order to be able to express that part of her creativity.
And the crazy thing is, I've actually, I think there have been two men that told me, yeah, you know, when I was younger, like they're artists or something, they're like, when I was younger, I used to have a hard time drawing like women's bodies. I would always make them super masculine. And they were talking about how they had to learn softness. So I think a lot of times as well, women, we have to learn that hardness as well. We have to tap into, and we also have to tap into our own masculine energy. I think kind of dealing with these characters and talking with them definitely helped me tap into, or at least get comfortable with tapping into my masculine energy as well.
Yeah. We are dichotomous, and there's the yin and the yang, and they exist simultaneously within us, and we have to find that balance. I think it's Gully Kill. Am I?
Oh Lord!
Is that the one with the king with the princess?
I love it. So, number one, anybody from Philly will laugh because no one can pronounce that, but it comes second nature to us. You could like literally show that work to a 3-year-old in Philly and they'd be like, oh, school kill. So it's school kill. Yes. So
I was like, Patucent. I was like, I'm going to be up here struggling.
It's okay because you guys have Schenectady and all types of stuff. So I understand completely. But yeah, so school kill is, you know, I think that it's a story that it grew on me because I put a lot of elements of Philly in that. Yes.
I can see that being a major novel. And in fact, let me say, I was telling Nicole, my sister, who you went to Lincoln University with.
Yes, LU all day.
That you fill a niche that a lot of writers and screenwriters don't fill, which is those vampires, elves, especially for the Black community.
Yes.
Supernatural.
Shapeshifting mermaids.
Yes, right. Time travel.
Yes.
You know, and I can see any of these becoming shorts and even full-length features in a niche that a lot of people aren't in, and that there is a need for.
Yes, and that's good. That's great that you said that, because you know, I think that once I published the book, I just kind of hit a wall. I was just like, ugh. My balloon got deflated, so I just kind of had to like engage in a lot of self-care, and I'm still kind of on the tail end of that. But
it's exhausting.
Yeah,
it's exhausting.
Oh my
God, I was spent.
Yes. And you, how many books have you published?
3.
See, exactly. So I can only, all praises to you, but you know, it was just, I kind of hit a wall. But once I actually finished the book and I got like the author's copy and I read it, and I'm really working on just gassing my own stuff, I was like, yo, this is the shit. Like, what? Like, I could definitely push that, because, you know, no shade, but all shade, a lot of Black stories are being greenlit and funded heavily, millions of dollars.
Yes.
And it's kind of tired, right? To me, it's kind of tired, or it kind of has a pocket of people, right? Either you're like drive by shooting people in the hood, which, you know, there's a space for that as well in all, you know, of our class systems, or it's a talented 10 type of thing. But it's not just the people in the middle, not a working class type of situation. So that, and just the element, like I said, of just the supernatural and no slaves. You also notice in this book, I don't really mention race, right? Like race relations. I don't really talk about that. So I literally wanted to focus on the things that we see but don't see. And I didn't want to focus on all of the things that we are bombarded with. You know, oppression,
right.
Even though there are elements of that, but, you know, being discriminated against, or being, you know, microaggressions at work. I left all of that out because I do want it, even though it's bizarre and we have some painful elements, I also wanted it to be filled with Black joy and kind of light.
Yeah.
Because other themes can be very heavy for us. Our lives are heavy in general, so we need to escape sometimes.
Yeah. I think you definitely achieved that goal. You mentioned Toni Morrison, who's also my favorite author. When I closed this book and finished it, I said, well, the name that came to me was Zora Neale Hurston.
Wow.
Who is also a favorite author of mine. And I've
taught her book every year.
And I just felt elements, you know.
Really? I love that. Can you tell me, just give me one. I like to pick people's brains.
that connection?
Yes.
Let me think. Okay, well, their eyes were watching God.
Okay.
You know, and just the way that she brought the supernatural, the elements of spirituality, of that other world, the hoodoo, the magic, that came across in here.
Yes.
You know, and so when I closed it, I just sort of had a Zora Neale Hurston element around me. Wow. After reading this, I want to read one, just 2 sentences from Patuxent.
Yes. I think so. And I laughed when you said Schuylkill and I said Schenectady. So, I believe that's how it's pronounced. I just got to be honest. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's a river in Maryland. That's where I'm at now. And I just know that I just kind of connected to it. And that was actually the first river piece that I wrote. But go ahead.
Is it 9 rivers that you used?
Yeah.
Did you use the number 9 for any particular reason, or? And if not, it will be interesting to look up the numerology
Yes.
meaning
So,
behind it and see what connects.
Yeah, so there are stories that I kind of left out. So number one, I felt like they probably were not as strong. So I said I could develop this for maybe a Headwater 2 or maybe like a full novel. So I did kind of shave it down to 9. And it just kind of happened by accident. You know, I'm an English person. I'm not really a numbers person, but I do like 3s for some reason. So, you know, I like the 9. And I also thought that 9 was really good because I mentioned the word accessibility before. And I know that people are busy. It's 2021. Most people don't have the time, you know, to kind of just sit there and read like we did maybe 10, 20 years ago. So I wanted to have it long enough where it's full, but also where someone could read it in one sitting, or they could just kind of go through those stories. And I didn't want to overwhelm anyone. I literally wanted it to be as accessible as possible. So I kept it at 9.
Speaking of 3s, I can't remember which chapter it was with the triplets.
Yes, that's Red.
Red, okay. And wow, you know, and that one was a roller coaster, emotional roller coaster.
Very much.
Guys, if you look.
You better read it. I'm gonna tell you. Aliyah Machetti problem. I gotta hype myself up.
read this book. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it as a Kindle download, or I mean, you know, you can see I have books. I like to hold them. I like to touch them. I like to bring them out down the line.
Yeah.
Let me read this on page 11.
Okay.
The leaves wave. No. Let me start. The trees are unkempt but steady, just like the part of you that no one knows exists. The leaves wave, unfazed by the bugs feeding on them. They have experienced death in the winters and rebirths in the springs, so nothing surprises them, scares them, or makes them happy. A contentment that you often forget exists. If we could just remember that every day and take that with us through life. Yes. Hello?
Absolutely. And once again, the crazy thing about that is, you know, I told you that was my first story. That entire thing was purely autobiographical. 100%. That person was literally me. Where I just kind of found that river and I literally just had to cry it out and just start that healing process. And I think that passage also came to me and came through me because I was envious of that. You know, I was envious of how nature is not raw. It's not. It's very safe and it's very hard and nothing really phases it. You know, like leaves fall and it's gray and kind of and ashy, and then it's like, all right, springtime, I'm back. Like nothing ever happened. You know, so I was jealous of it, and I was jealous of it, and I was envious. But I also said, you know what? I don't know how long this journey is going to take me. I don't know where it's going to take me, but I know that that's where I want to be when I come out on the other end of it. Yeah, that's how I want to experience life.
That's amazing. And I think, I mean, that's what yogis meditate hours and hours a day for, to reach that right there. That was summed up on page 11 of Headwater. Tell people where they can find you, where they can order it, and where they can get this, this goodness in their life.
Thank you. Yes. So it's available on Amazon. It is available in Kindle, paperback. I just checked today, so they're starting a beta for hard copy. So, you know, I was like, oh yes, this is what I'm doing this weekend, right? Just imagine to see my book in a hard copy, or hardcover. So I'm there. I am Aliyah Machetti on IG, of course. I also have a website, aliyahmachetti.com. So you can reach me in multiple places.
Now we're out of time, but I don't care, because I want you to tell people and people to get this from you.
Okay.
What was your process for once you finished editing and then publishing? And I'm gonna have to get you back on.
Yes, I'm definitely. I mean, I love this. The energy is great. I would definitely come back, and then we can talk about Red. But the process. So I thought that writing the book was going to be the hard part. You know, speaking about being a student again, that was a piece of cake. The struggle was the editing. When I tell you that I believe that I'm up to 38 drafts, I've drafted it 38 times, you know, and not even major plot lines, but just little elements where those characters were like, nah, this sounds kind of corny. This doesn't sound like me. Move this around. Take this out. Why do you have to explain this? Let them come to me, right? All of those things. So the drafting process was really long. And the publishing, oh, okay. So to me, it's just you're bombarded. And for those of you out there who are in the process of publishing, number one, quickly, just shout out to, I have a kind of a mentor type of person that kind of pointed me in the right direction, because I originally just wanted to submit it to a publishing house. But of course, you know, racism, classism, all of those things, very hard to get into that, right? Unless you have a large following. But when I said that to this person, they were like, well, why can't you do both? Right? Mentioning those possibilities and endlessly. And I was like, damn, okay. So, you know, I just started researching, and there were so many self-publishing platforms. So what I had to do was I had to research, because my biggest thing is I need to make sure that I'm not being scammed, and I need to make sure that I'm doing the right thing and it makes sense. So I think I took about just maybe 2 or 3 weeks just reading reviews and going to different websites and really researching. So I came up with one, had everything ready to go, and then I found out that their paperback was in the beta form pretty much, so it hadn't started yet. So I had to say, all right, let me find something else. Amazon. So Amazon was a lot of research as well. You know, it's a major corporation, you have to be careful. But once I kind of finalized everything and chose an option, you can get like 35% royalties or something. But you kind of give up some rights, not anything major, or you can, you keep 70% if you do that. And then if not, if you retain all of your rights, it's 35. I said, okay, I can do that, right? Because you never know. I don't want to limit myself. A year from now, someone may say, yo, I know somebody, they love this story. What's up with the contract? You know, like, let's get it going. So I'm always thinking about that. So, you know, once I made that decision, the process was really good. They walk you through everything. They do the formatting. I found a free template for Amazon's format, their publishing company. I found it free online. Oh, this publishing process as well. I spent some money, but definitely under like maybe $60. The whole process. I just researched in time. That's what you need.
Yeah.
So just to wrap it up though, so I did that. And I published it. The cover, I'm very proud of that. I took that picture myself. That's actually my hand. I wanted to visit the James River. Yeah, the red press ons was popping during the pandemic. And I literally just put my hand down in the water and just had the tripod. And that was that. So all I literally had to do was just upload that picture, type everything. So once I kind of finalized the Amazon, it took me about a week and a half to do everything else.
That is so exciting. That is amazing. Wow, this has been so great. I'm so glad that you joined us today. Thank you, everybody, for joining me.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited, so geeked. Once again, your energy is always amazing. Yeah, this is great. I love it.
I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled. Every week I'm here at 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern with an amazing, fabulous, fantastic, dope AF guest. Aliyah Lashea was here with us this week. Join me again next week. I may or may not be here next week. I might be, you know, taking a moment to go see the Aurora Borealis. So
amazing life, no fear, but go ahead.
but otherwise I'll be back the next week. But again, visit me at www.lessproblemsmoremiracles.com. Visit AliyahMachete.com. Follow us here on IG. Get the book. if nothing else, get the book.
Yeah, Amazon.com. Yes.
Get the book and write a review.
Yeah.
We love that.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who popped in, and hello, and introduce myself to the people who are going to see this later. Thank you. Buy the book, Headwater, Aliyah Machete.
Until next week, have a miraculous day. Bye.
Bye.